Good evening, and welcome to Decatur High School's 2025 homecoming edition of the Red Raider Preview Show. It's one of the biggest weeks of the year here at Decatur High, and we're excited to bring you all the action, energy, and tradition of Homecoming 2025. Tonight, we'll dive into the matchup against our homecoming opponent, Columbia High School, recap the amazing win against Lee High School, and spotlight the pride, honor, and tradition that make Red Raider homecoming so special. From the players on the field to the alumni in the stands, this is more than just a game. It's a celebration of what it means to be a Red Raider. Settle in. It's time for your Red Raider Preview Show, Homecoming Edition.
For generations, Decatur High School has stood as a beacon of excellence, built on a foundation of rich heritage. Our journey began with the schools that came before us, strong, resilient, and deeply connected to the community. Each step in our history is a testament to the values we uphold today: integrity, innovation, and a commitment to lifelong learning. It's a place where lifelong friendships are made, where lessons extend far beyond the classroom, and where every student becomes a part of something greater, a legacy that connects the past with the present. The Red Raider spirit runs deep. From the classroom to the ball field, we acknowledge our heritage, a heritage that shapes our identity and prepares each student to face the future with confidence. At Decatur High School is more than just a building. It's a tradition of excellence, a family of Raiders, and a legacy of learning that continues to grow. Today, just as in years past, we stand proud together. And remember, every day is a great day to be a Red Raider.
Welcome to the Red Raider Preview Show with Coach John Ritter, Brent Collins, John Godwin. Coach, got that first win.
Much better spirits this week.
So I guess the thing is that I think Brent asked you this: is the vibe different?
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, I think we talked about it a lot. Losing exposes a lot of problems that you have, and winning covers them up. You know, if you win all the time, but also it fixes some wrongs. And you know, everybody's mood's better. Their mood's better. My mood's better. Coaches' moods, cheerleaders' moods, everybody's, you know, in better spirits. And, you know, winning's hard. That's what we told them after the game. Enjoy it, you know, and let's go out and get another one.
well, let me ask you: before the game, was the confidence there that they could go and beat Lee?
I don't know. You know, I thought we had a good week. We didn't have a great week, but we had a good week. You know, I think so. I mean, you want them to play confident, but then you open up with the number 3 ranked team in 6A, the number 4 ranked team in 6A, you know, a really good Buckhorn team, a really good Jasper team who's ranked 11th, you know.
And a 7A team in Athens.
Austin, who's, you know, 5-1 or 4-1 now. You know, I don't know where our confidence level was, but, you know, hopefully after that game, it's boosted a little bit that we reap some benefits of hard work.
Yeah, well, and we talked about it before we came on. Start of the second half, went in gangbusters, came out at halftime almost flat.
Yeah.
And it took a little while to get going again. In fact, they let Lee, I think that was their first touchdown, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So kind of let them, but they righted the ship and ended on a strong note.
Yeah, I think we were in a position that we hadn't been in as a team, and that was ahead. You know, we've talked a lot about handling failure. You know, how are we going to handle the negative things that happen, and you know, to start stacking positives. You know, and we finally got an opportunity to handle some positive things, and you know,
heck, we left 2 touchdowns off the board, right? Took them off the board.
Right before halftime, we had the punt return.
Quaylen didn't have 2 of them pulled.
Yeah, Quaylen had 2. I think we had 3 total. Maybe you'd call back.
Quaylen would have had a total of 4 touchdowns had those 2 stood.
Right.
You know, and you got to learn to handle success just like you do failure. And, you know, we got some practice at that. And hopefully we have some more practice at that, you know, the next couple of weeks and moving forward within the building of this program.
Well, one more question before Brent takes it. But you look at how our season set up, that first 5 games were just terribly difficult. Then we come in here with 3 games that are manageable. to get confidence up. And one of them, this one Friday night's a region game. But we got 2 more region games, and we can get in the playoffs. But it's almost like the second half sets up good because it starts to build some confidence with these 2 games right in a row, and then coming and facing Coleman and Athens down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, and I think these last week and this week were really about tailoring who our identity needs to be the next 5 games. The first 5 games we learned about our team as far as who's going to fight, who's going to compete no matter what, who can we count on to be where we need them to be when things get tough. And then I think these 2 weeks, last week and this week, are about finding our identity. Who do we have to be successful? What's our personnel look like? Getting the Jimmies and the Joes in the right spots to make plays. And, you say, well, Coach, you have 5 games to do that. Yes and no. The first 5 games exposed a lot of our problems,
I think all of our problems.
All of our problems, yeah. A lot, all. And it's about fixing those problems, and not only fixing them, but having the answers. And sometimes in high school football, you don't have answers, because that's what you got. It's what you got. There ain't no recruiting. There ain't no transfer portal. There's limited depth. There's a lot of negative parts about, having a roster size of X. But I felt like we did fight. I felt like we had guys that were bought in to what we were doing, and Friday night they got to make some plays, and we need those same guys to make plays moving forward.
Before we move to the game balls, I wanted to talk about the punt return before half, and I was a little conflicted with the call. I was even talking to your dad before I saw the replay. I was like, Caden was the one that had the block in the back, or the blindside block. And I said, looking at that replay, it looked like he sized the guy up. He was in front of him. I mean, it was an athletic football, aggressive football play. And I'm thinking, man, all this is gone out of the wayside with football now. But I got corrected by one of your assistant coaches saying, well, it was behind the play.
It's 10 yards behind the play. So I was upset at the time, too, because I thought it was closer than it really was. And, never going to, the only thing I told Cade was just be smart.
Yeah.
Lead with your hands instead of your shoulder. I like that physical piece. I think it sets a tone.
Absolutely.
I think it does a lot of things. Even though it took a score off the board, at that junction of the game, that's not necessarily the worst thing that could happen.
Right.
Now if it's 14-14, if we're down 14, obviously we can't take points off the board. But sometimes, you got to set the tone of being physical, and, not going to fault Caden for trying to be physical. Don't do it 10 yards behind the play. And, other than that, we actually got away with a block in the back, kind of in the middle of the field that didn't get caught.
On the same play.
On the same play. So, I guess that's football karma.
Well, and I said at halftime, you coming back on the field in your interview, I thought the defense did a good job of bending, not breaking when they got down deep in the territory. And some of that was Lee shooting themselves in the foot. But, I mean, we presented some obstacles for us, and we didn't quit. So I really feel like we're growing up on defense, and some of those young kids are Jacob Marshall. He's going to be solid every time. You got your defensive line that is doing a good job. And Caden Watkins is a good senior leader back there. Another pick, another turnover.
Caden's doing an excellent job of kind of being the enforcer in the back end. He gets us lined up. He gets us in the right coverage call, the right secondary alignment. Very proud of the progress that he's made. I
feel like Casey Just is in on every play.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the key is we finally put the same defense on the field 2 weeks in a row.
Right.
And that was a lot of our issues last year. And really our issues going into games 1 through 5 is, we had injuries. We had fruit basket turnover at D-line. We had fruit basket turnover at linebacker. Our secondary has been kind of intact the whole time, and they played well all season long. But we finally got some continuity because we've got we put the same 11 out there.
I mean, I think having the extra body and Ethan Prater going on defense, you can give some guys a breather. He comes in, you don't check up a lot, but I tell you one thing, he's gonna regret the day. And I said him on the broadcast, in 30 years, he's gonna be thinking about that scoop and score that he missed the opportunity on. But another turnover that you got to give. When you can be plus on the turnover margin, that's a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were plus 3 turnovers, and that's huge. I don't think we had an offensive turnover.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
And that's huge. And when you take care of the ball and you can run the football, and we ran it finally, we had a lot of success.
One thing I did see on the punt, and I don't know if y'all looked at it in slow motion, but I felt like Bryson's knee may have touched down one time before he got the ball off. We might have got away with one, but man, what a boom kick he had over that. That was a difference in 60 yards.
Yep. I thought the same thing. I thought we got away with one, but it's about time we get some good.
We need some calls.
Some good calls, good juju, whatever going our way.
So let's talk about game balls before we move forward to those Columbia Eagles. Offense, defense, special teams.
Offensively, we had 2 guys that played exceptional. Quaylen Hampton and Reed Robertson played really well. When we run the jet, we toss it, for a couple of reasons. Because A, it's easier to practice. B, if something does go wrong, it's not a fumble. So, Quaylen had 9 catches for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a touchdown reception call back that would put him at about 240 for the game. And then Reed Robertson, he was our leading rusher for 85 yards. We had 3 backs with 85 yards. Or 80 or more yards. He was 9 out of 16 passing. Same thing. We were very effective offensively doing what we wanted to do. Defensively, Caden Oliver played outstanding, but he finished with 10 plus tackles, had a couple sacks. He had 2 quarterback rushes and a couple tackles for loss, doing a lot of different things. He's playing defensive end, but he's also playing stack linebacker, as well. And so, that's kind of what we expected out of Caden, to be a multi-purpose guy.
I felt like I saw him a little boogered up on the sideline, had a bloody nose or something, man. That got me excited.
Absolutely.
He got in there, got tough.
And then special teams, Emmanuel Rosales, was perfect on extra point.
5.
And then, his kickoffs, we kind of got away from trying to kick it deep, and we play on turf. We play with rubber balls, so let's kick that thing on the ground and let it jump. And, he's doing a really good job of setting them up inside their 30, which, the deeper we can keep them starting, the lower those percentages go down of them scoring. And so, I thought he did extremely well in the kicking game.
Well, feels good to get that first victory. And injury-wise, we
healthy for the first time ever.
Healthy
this year.
Well, that's good. That's a good segue into
Columbia Eagles. So they're I can't remember how many what streak they're on.
It might be 95
of a losing streak. And wasn't there somebody following them?
Oh yeah, the Gator
ESPN or some
documentary going on.
We don't want to be part of that documentary, but Sammy Coates is their first year head coach, and he played wide receiver at Auburn.
He did.
Has he been a high school coach before? Do you know?
I don't really know. I know he's done a really good job. If you look at them on film, they're better. They're organized. They don't look like the Columbia of old, which is, it's not going to be good for somebody, and I hope it ain't good for us. We talked earlier. A lot's riding on this game. This is our first playoff game. We've got to win these next 3 region games to keep playing. So this is a playoff game for us. We got to win it because it's a region game. Number 2, it's homecoming. As a senior, you want to win your rival games, you want to win homecoming, and you want to win senior night. Those are the big 3 that if you can accomplish, the rest of it will take care of itself. So, region game, homecoming, and, let's don't be on ESPN.
Well, what do they do offensively and defensively?
Offensively, they're spread. I mean, they're 2x2, they're 3x1. Some 2-back gun, some 3-back gun. I mean, they're kind of all over the place. Their quarterback is extremely athletic. A lot of snap at the helmet, watch him go.
What year is he? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got us in trouble with Lee. Lee didn't score on traditional plays. They rolled a snap back there,
Right.
and the quarterback took off. So, we really hammered this week about being in your lane, great lane integrity on rushes, not running past the quarterback, collapse the pocket on the quarterback and not create, holes for him to get into. Defensively, they're 4-4, cover one, and that's probably the biggest thing that they're doing better is you watch them through 5 games and they have an identity. Maybe in the past they were kind of all over the place offensively, defensively. They're at least doing something consistent, which is good and bad. I mean, obviously they're having some trouble stopping people, so I hope they don't start this.
Well, they had a pretty good competitive game last week, didn't
Yes,
they?
they
East
did.
Lawrence. But East Lawrence finally pulled it out in the end.
Yeah, I think it was a little fluky because it was an 89-yard punt return on a fumble recovery. I don't know. I was reading about it.
It was a return of some sort, and they also had 19 penalties. I think they took 2 or 3 scores.
But what about their numbers? Are they still really down?
Early in the year, we kind of noticed they had about 50, 55. And then, I kind of watched different things on Wednesday, Thursday. So yesterday, I'm kind of buzzing through. And, at East Lawrence, they had about 35 on the sideline. So they kind of, had some hurt, had some missing, whatever.
What's the keys to us winning?
Same as they always are. Offensively, we got to be able to run the football. We got to take care of the football. We got to end every drive in a kick. There's nothing wrong with a punt as long as we're mixing in some extra points. Don't turn the ball over, run the ball efficiently. We got to get the ball in our playmakers' hands in space. And I thought we did a really good job of that last week. Defensively, we got to contain the quarterback. Don't let number 12, they put another guy back there in Wildcat. Don't let those guys get loose to make plays. Lane integrity, being in the gap that we're supposed to be in run game wise, and then stay in coverage on the back end just because he's scrambling around. We got to be able to hem him up.
How does the extracurricular activities of being homecoming get in the way or enhance this week?
Do you let your kids go build the float?
You got in trouble.
Coach Ev never did. Yeah, I know. That's the only paddling I ever got.
I tell our kids, go be involved. Don't be silly about it. Let's don't be jumping backflips off trailers. Let's don't be using, if you don't know how to use a staple gun or a drill, let's don't try to pick it up on Tuesday of this week and learn a skill. Be involved in that because the way our schedule's set up, Wednesdays and Thursday, we practice in the morning, so they're able to be a part of that. But we also told them to keep the main thing the main thing.
Right.
That game's at 7 o'clock on Friday for a reason. It's the most important. If that parade was the most important thing, we'd play Monday at 3 and we'd have homecoming festivities the rest of the week. If the homecoming pep rally was the main thing, we'd have that game at Tuesday at 2 and we'd have the rest of that stuff going on. So keep what you're responsible for the main thing and make sure that Friday at 7 we're ready to roll.
Sounds like it's the same thing that we talk about on the broadcast. Just don't be stupid.
Yeah, that's been said quite a bit. Absolutely.
All right, we'll go. Let's do some
Yeah.
mystery stuff.
All right. So you know what the mystery question is today? Did we give you any prep on it? All right. Name, image, and likeness. All right. We're all college football fans, and we've got a dose of.
Well, it used to be.
Well, there's not much to be happy about as an Auburn fan. But
Well, I'm talking about the NIL. But go ahead.
used to be. Name, image, and likeness was a thing and is a thing. On to victory at Auburn. I mean, we follow that. It's the guys are getting paid to come and play. How has that trickled into the high school ranks? I mean, or has it trickled into it? And then what do you see maybe the future of that looking like in high school?
Well, in Alabama, it hasn't. we don't have NIL. Now we have an amateur rule that is strictly laid out of what you can and can't do. I'm kind of torn on NIL. If it's going to be a thing, then I want it. We'll be good at it. If it's not a thing, obviously we're not. I'm not going to advocate for it by any stretch of the imagination because that's one more thing to worry about. I think being NIL in high school is the worst thing ever. But I told our kids, our kids probably won't benefit from that. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to challenge Decatur if NIL ever comes around. I need a bunch of businesses to give me money because we're going to pay our players. The problem with that is now you're an employee. So when you're late, hey, you're docked. Oh, you got the wrong shorts on. You're docked money. You're supposed to do 4 reps and you did 2 in the weight room. Man, that's $100 fine. Practice.
They'd be better employees from my perspective if they were docked for things like that, right?
Hey, you missed practice because of an orthodontist appointment. That's $100 fine. So at the end of the day, how much are these kids going to get paid?
Yeah.
Not a lot.
They may be paying you.
They'll be owing me money, and that's what I told, me and Cade Watkins had a great conversation about it back in the summer. Wrong socks, fine, this, fine, because they become employees now. They just took a sport that's played for fun and they made it their job because they're getting paid. And when you get paid at something, there's certain, the expectations change.
Well, you're talking about it's not in Alabama. Is it in Florida, Georgia, Mississippi?
I think it's in Georgia. I think Tennessee has a law on their books for NIL. And then that's the other thing is, that's a slippery slope. That's not good for anybody involved. For you guys, Caden Oliver. Is Core Construction going to give Caden Oliver $10,000 to make a commercial for them? Probably not. Because that's not good for anybody involved. For you guys, for the player, So NIL is ruining college, and the day it comes to high school, it'll ruin high school too. And and I'm not opposed to guys making money. But when you start making money, the responsibilities change.
Well, too, I think, we've talked about how they're professionals, and yet professionals sign contracts. And it gets into the whole different thing. It seems like the NIL, there's not any contract. It's and in fact, we talked about it before that when are the players, you're going to see college players, if their team's not in it, just say, hey, mid part of the season, say, look, I'm not going to play anymore. I'm going to get in the portal after the season's over with, and I'm just going to see it.
Yeah. But I think with that comes, especially in college, I think you're going to see the transfer portal change because if you get signed to come play DB at Coastal Carolina and you're not producing, they'll go find somebody else.
Fire you.
They'll fire you. It's not NIL. It's not name, image, and likeness. It's pay to play.
Right.
Well, it's revenue share now. Is what
NIL, they're supposed to be doing commercials and that kind of stuff, right?
Signing autographs.
But it got twisted just like everything's going to. It's paid for play, and I'm not sure what coach in a press conference the other day really kind of called out his players that they're not producing like they should be producing. And when you give somebody $350,000,
you better produce.
You better produce.
So we didn't put this on paper, but I would be remiss if I did not mention our golf tournament a week ago, the baseball golf tournament that you and your coaches represented well, right? We didn't. We were right in between first flight and second flight, but yours truly. Ritter said he wasn't good. John Ritter said he wasn't a good golfer, and every time he stepped up to the tee box, he put it in play.
So he would tell you a story.
Yeah, he said, man, if we use 1 or 2 of my shots during this round, we used 18 of his shots.
I'm a good scrambler. I can't.
I can believe.
I can't put together 4 or 5 shots a hole. I can hit one.
And so you're doing like your team does. 1 good shot, 2 bad shots. 1 good shot, 2 bad.
Hit the first drive right down the top.
So you just need
the second.
You need to be more consistent.
Absolutely.
So Dodd, our offensive line coach, was on our team. He was probably the guy that thought he was the best on the team, but participated contributed the least.
I hope Tucker doesn't watch this. He'll get his feelings hurt.
Well,
And then Kurt Kennedy. I mean, he's all American.
Pretty good golfer, too.
He's all American
Good
left
time. Raised a bunch of money for baseball.
Well, speaking of raising money, that's something that I have seen that you do a very good job of for Decatur High School, and we talked about it before we came on the air, but it looks like something in the future that's going to happen here at Decatur High is we are going to get an indoor facility for our football team, baseball team to share. So that's a lot of excitement in the air. And Thursday night, among all your other duties as a head coach, you get to tell everybody where and when they need to be at the homecoming parade. Are you the grand marshal of the homecoming parade?
Oh, no. Riding on that truck.
he picks the float winner.
You picked the float winner. Okay.
That's negative. I try to have the least amount of responsibility on homecoming.
So
as I can.
where are you going to be during the parade? Are you going to be on the fire truck or on?
Wesley Perry's got some kind of truck lined up. So
Okay.
me and Lincoln and these 96 kids,
Okay.
Brooks Adcock, and a couple of these other coaches that have small kids, we'll all be on that float.
And the last thing I will say, I mean, that's great for homecoming. I know we had a big win for, our future Red Raiders. Another 8th grade win last night, right? Against Muscle Shoals, overtime victory, 6-0.
Yeah, no. So they're in the championship game. We'll play Coleman next Tuesday to determine whether we host it or have to play at Coleman. So we got to play Coleman back to back.
Okay, so they will be the first or second team.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I know that you've been probably wondering where we are. We are in the bowels of Oval Stadium.
Wasn't your locker room right there? Is that where
Now
your
that's
locker
the
was?
bathroom.
Right behind the bathroom.
Behind the bathroom. Behind the
That's
window.
where it all happened.
But anyway,
That's where the sausage.
we're
was
here in Ogle. You need to be in Ogle on Friday night for homecoming when we play Columbia, get our second victory and our first region victory. First of 3 that gets us in the playoffs. So you've been watching the Red Raider preview show with Coach John Ritter. Come on out to the ball game and support the Red Raiders.
It's always a great day
To be a Red Raider.